Hey out there in Kelly Tours land. Glad you could join us for this very first streaming Kelly Tour year in travel. So we all know you're from all over the place, so if you would, look down below. There's a little comment section down there. If you could click on the comment and then put your name and address in there and your email, then we'll get back to you, put you on our mailing list so that whenever we mail one of these catalogs out, you'll be on the mailing list and you'll get one, okay? So I've got a little bit of housekeeping to do here. I've got a whole slew of people in the room helping me with this little show that we're putting online. It's streaming to people from all over the country, mainly in the Southeast, but we're glad to have you. I want to tell you a little bit about Kelly Tours. It started off in 1996. I've been working with Kelly Tours since its inception, and we've done a lot. The company originally started off putting together student trips where we would take a group of 8th graders to Washington, D.C., helping a teacher put it together, taking students that might not have the opportunity to travel on a trip. This was something that took us into the 2000s, where we started stretching out into the group travel with senior adults, where we put together a program that takes care of all your hotels, your reservations. You don't have to worry about where you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep, or where you're going to park the car. You don't even have to worry about driving, because we're going to take you from here to there and back again. It's a very safe form of travel. We call it group travel, mainly because you're going along with a group of people that you're going to get to know. Half the trip is going to the destination. The other half is getting to know folks that are on the trip with you, making lifelong friends. And I think it's a great opportunity to do that, to meet other people, and to see beautiful destinations. A lot of this is done on motor coaches. We have a fleet of motor coaches as well, so we're going to put you on this vehicle that's guided by a very safe and courteous driver, hand-picked to travel the roads with our group. They might be familiar with a certain destination, and that driver is the perfect driver to go on that trip. So these buses are equipped with reclining seats, seat belts. They have a nice restroom in the back. They kneel at the front, so they're easy to get on and off of. And there's always a tour director that goes along on the trip, just to kind of keep things on schedule, to help you out, to help you check into your hotel, to help you out with your meal, to make sure that the trip goes smoothly, and to also work with the driver to make sure he gets you into the right spot and drops you off at the front door. So that's kind of the thing about group travel, that if you haven't been on a trip with Kelly Tours or any group travel, maybe a day trip might be the perfect spot to jump off on. And then we go all the way up to 21-day trips. So we're going to look at a lot of them today. I've got a slideshow I'd like to show you, and IT Josh is going to help me get to that. Just give me a couple seconds and it's going to show up right to my left. So we have a year of travel, 2023. These tours start off in February and they go all the way through the year. We'll be promoting these trips, and a lot of the bus trips are going to leave from Charleston and Savannah. But if you live along the way and you'd like us to pick you up anywhere along the route that this trip goes, we'll be glad to pull off the interstate, throw you on the bus, and we'll keep on going. If it's a fly trip, then no matter where you live, you can join up the trip at the first day of the trip, and then we'll fly you home on the final day of the trip back to your hometown. So there's a lot of options there. We have a great staff at Kelly Tours that can help you with all this. But I'd like to mention that we do have locations in Savannah, Macon, North Georgia, known as Lula, Georgia, just north of Gainesville. We've got our North Florida office, which is in Yulee, and then we have our Charleston office, which is in Ravenel. Adult travel, if you go to our website, all of these trips are listed on our website under adult travel, under tours. The itinerary section there will show you a detailed itinerary of every trip. And the The itinerary's in there, day by day. It has what meals are included by a bold letter at the end of every day. Has the date of the trip, has a trip number on the as well. And that trip number follows you throughout the trip. It helps keep up with your finances and your money that you spend with Kelly Tours, as well as it helps our inner office personnel keep up with all the reservations and so forth. Our catalog is another way to find out about our tours, and every trip is listed in that catalog. We got a great marketing department here at Kelly Tours, and they have done a masterful job putting this catalog together, and it just kind of shows and tells you all about the trip and makes you really want to go somewhere. So whether it's online or via our catalog, just look it over, and in the back is a general information page, and our contact information is throughout. Now let's get the show on the road. Now when they say show, that means it includes a show. So all of these trips include some type of entertainment. And throughout the trip, throughout the catalog, throughout the itineraries online, there's all types of options that have a show involved. And the first one comes up at the end of January. This is the story that goes down to, this is the trip that goes down to Jacksonville to the Alhambra Dinner Theater. The Alhambra Dinner Theater is in Jacksonville. They have a great show and a great meal. These are always on Saturdays. They're a matinee that goes on a Saturday afternoon. So you leave before the sun right after the sun comes up, and you get back before the sun goes down. Lots of shows in Alhambra, but this year we'll be choosing the Patsy Cline and Jersey Boys. Pretty Woman in Jacksonville at the big theater down there, Broadway in Jacksonville, and Mean Girls. The Moran Theater in Jacksonville also has Jesus Christ Superstar, and the Narrowway, which is a Christian dinner theater just south of Charlotte, North Carolina, and that is a live show of different Christmas and Bible stories, and they have a nice meal too. Those are on Saturdays. Hairspray, a hilarious show at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. Singing in the Rain down at the Moran in Macon. And Moulin Rouge at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. And American Jukebox in Charleston. The theater in Charleston is the historic theater. It's a perfect destination. We go down there and have a nice meal in historic Charleston, and then we see the show. The American Jukebox is music from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. In Myrtle Beach, we do a little beach music. The Drifters, the Platters, and the Coasters will all be together at the Alabama Theater. Our Cherry Blossom trip to Callaway Gardens in Macon will take in Guys and Dolls at the Springer Opera House. And then in Brook Green Gardens in South Carolina, they have the Elton John tribute. So a couple of nice trips there. These are all 2 days, so these are overnight trips. On an overnight trip or any trip involving a hotel, all the prices are posted double occupancy, and that means there's two people that pay the same price and they room together. So whether you have a spouse or a friend, you travel with them and you room together. If you would like a single occupancy, then they have a single rate as well. And you'll see throughout the trip number, which helps us keep up with the trip and your payment. So always remember to keep your trip number handy. Branson in the Ozarks, a great show-filled trip that goes up for 3 nights in Branson, including the Haygood Show and the Branson Bell. Cities of Music takes in Memphis and Nashville and New Orleans. All kinds of musical tributes there. The birth of the blues and jazz and country music. And the Country Music Highway, it takes on the Barta Theater in Abington, Virginia, as well as the Country Music Highway Museum. Fun with the grands. We all have grands that are growing up, getting big. Sometimes you want to do something a little special for them. A couple trips you might consider taking the grandkids. If it's my grandkids, maybe you don't want to take them anywhere. But if it's your grandkids, maybe you'd like taking them to a day trip to the Atlanta Aquarium. Or our big grandparents trip, which goes down to St. Augustine, takes in a show down there, sees the historic St. Augustine, and also goes down into Spaceport, USA to visit Port Canaveral and the Space Center down there. Take us out to the ball game. Those Atlanta Braves did very well last year, and whether you're a Braves fan or not, we've got several trips that you can go see a professional baseball game. The Braves take on the Phillies, the Angels, the Twins on our day trips. We have an overnight trip that takes in opening day against the San Diego Padres. And then our big trip along the East Coast, which goes to ballparks in Baltimore, Washington, into Philadelphia. We go see the Yankees play and the Red Sox play. So 5 different baseball parks that we'll visit and see a professional ball game. That trip will bus up the East Coast and then you fly home from Boston. How about those dogs? National champions, we'll have a trip to go see them this fall in September, taking on the University of Alabama, Birmingham. Don't get that confused with the Crimson Tide, but that'll be a trip that'll take you off, drop you right off at the front gate of the stadium, pick you up after the game, and bring you home. Both lunch and dinners included. Uplifting trips. Uplifting trips are a trip that you might want to take your church group on. That'll go visit some of the great places throughout the country, including the New Ark Museum, which is up in Kentucky. There they have actually built a life-size ark, just as described in the Bible, the exact dimensions. There you might see how life might have been like on the ark, and the Creation Museum's included. The story of Moses takes place in Lancaster at the Sight and Sound Theater. We'll see Philadelphia and the Amish country as well. And you know, train trips always sell good. People love to ride on a train. We have a lot of different trips that'll take you on a train trip. Usually involves some bus in there too, maybe a couple of fly trips where you'll fly out and get on some trains out west. The first one comes up in May, where we take a train to Charleston and then come back by way of Magnolia Plantation. Another one goes up and takes the train to Charleston and comes back by way of the tea plantation. So check out the catalog. Lots of different opportunities to take train trips. This one in October goes to the Trail of Tears. This is a live amphitheater that actually has the story of the Cherokee Indian Nation and how they were driven out into Oklahoma. Our West Virginia trip, the colors of the fall, the Blue Ridge Scenic Railway. This is the trip that visits Helen and Dahlonega. And our Western Mountain Trains trip, which goes all the way out to Colorado, and several different train trips out there, including the Durango-Silverton narrow gauge railway, and that's a real nail biter going up through the big gorge there. Monument Valley, Grand Canyon also included on that trip out west. That's in July. Feeling lucky? That's right, we'll take you out to a casino in different destinations all across the country, including Harrah's up in North Carolina, Fritch Lick Springs in Indiana, all the way out to Las Vegas, which comes back by way of the Grand Canyon and the Cajun country. A trip that goes up to see the fast horses in Kentucky, where we'll go to the Keeneland racetrack, where the way racing was meant to be. It's an awesome sight and a great experience to see a race at Keeneland. We'll visit a few breweries, distilleries, probably a few breweries too, and the Louisville Slugger Museum in Louisville, Kentucky. California Wonders flies out to San Francisco and then makes its way over to Yosemite and into Las Vegas before flying home. Festivals. A lot of times we'll take on some festivals, and these are added attractions to the trip. Not only do you see the destination, the beautiful people, but it's during a time of year where a place might be celebrating a certain festival, like the Strawberry Festival down in Florida, in Plant City, where they have a great festival celebrating the strawberry. You'll have strawberry shortcake, strawberry daiquiris, strawberries, and you'll even bring some strawberries home. Fun, we call it fun as well because we have the great annual mystery trip, which goes out 5 days and you don't even know where you're going. You get on the bus with a bunch of people you never met before, and you head down the road, and you don't even know where you're going. And I tell you, they have a blast. So keep it in mind, the mystery trip, very popular, coming up in July. And our Tulip Festival. The Tulip Festival in Holland, Michigan. There's a great amount of people that are from Dutch descendancy. They live in this area. They still practice a lot of the traditions, and every year they have the Tulip Festival where they've planted tulip bulbs all over the city. They bloom exactly the time that we drive into town, and they have the windmills, they have the old wooden shoe factory. They have a day where the folks come out and they have a great folks parade where you sit by and watch the city folk come by, scrubbing the streets with their little babies in little Dutch outfits. And a lot of shows every night in Holland when they have the festival. So that, along with our Oktoberfest in Helen, the great fiesta in San Antonio, a great place to visit. To me, the nicest city in Texas. We'll stay right there on the Riverwalk. We have a nice cruise on the San Antonio River, along with seats for the big Fiesta Parade, which takes place on the river as well. They'll take the water taxis and they decorate them all up in a fiesta motif, and they have a good time with bands and mariachi bands and music. The Grand Marshal, beauty queens. It's a great trip, and the whole time you're sitting in a nice seat on the Riverwalk watching the parade go by. So it's a great trip. Out in Albuquerque, they have the Balloon Festival. You get up early one morning, and you got great seats for the Albuquerque Balloon Festival, where all the balloons take off right as the sun comes up, and it fills the sky, a lot like this picture right here. October is the time that we go out there, out to Flagstaff, and the Grand Canyon is also on that trip. Relax with resorts. I could go for a little relaxation right now. We go down to Key West, where it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? And the Doubletree Hilton Hotel. We'll spend a couple nights there. We see the sunset one day at Mallory Square. We'll go off on a catamaran ride, and then coming back through the Everglades, we'll have a cruise on the Everglades. Little Switzerland Resort. This is right on the Blue Ridge Parkway. A beautiful setting. We'll have a chance to see a lot of sights in the area, and then spend a couple nights at Little Switzerland. And then the resorts of the West head out to the west, along with the Fairmont Hotel Springs, Hot Springs in Arkansas, and the Guest Ranch, along with a stop in Nashville at the Gaylord Opryland Resort. Historic, we like to make our trips very educational, and we have a lot of different trips that we study history along with the destination, along with some great meals that are included, along with a nice bus ride. We'll take you over to Madison for the spring tour of homes, to Daufuskie, where we take a boat to an island that the only way to get there is by boat, and we take golf carts and tour the island. The Milledgeville, the first capital, one of our state capitals. I don't think it was the first, but one of our state capitals. We'll go to the State House there, and we'll see the St. Augustine, and a lot of different day trips throughout the catalog. So keep an eye out for those along the way. Amelia Island goes over to Cumberland. Andersonville and Yoder's and Peaches. Oh, that's a great trip for the day that goes over to Andersonville for the history at the Civil War Museum. The Yoder's is a Mennonite restaurant. We'll have a nice meal there, and we'll bring back some peaches from Lane's Packing House. Mayberry RFD, where you can meet Andy Griffith and Opie and the history of that area. A great museum there reminds us all of that great show on television. The National Museum of African American History is in D.C. And we'll even take you out to South Fork and Cadillac Ranch along Route 66. And keep an eye out for this trip that goes out to San Diego. We fly you out there, and we call it Cruising America's Pacific Coast. But you're going to bus up the coast all the way to Portland, Oregon. Along the way, we're going to introduce you to some different cruises. First off, in San Diego, you'll see the Great Pacific Naval Fleet in San Diego on a cruise. We'll go out to Catalina Island, which is a cool little island just off the California coast. Up in San Francisco, with our 2-night stay there, we'll take a cruise out to Alcatraz. See how this cruising is involved on this trip? And we continue up to through the redwoods. And you know, if you've never seen the redwoods, these are 300-foot tall trees that go straight into the sky. Hard to see the tops from where you stand. You go through a grove of them, and it looks like you're in church when you look up and you have all these trees surrounding you. The great redwoods, and then continuing up to the Oregon coast, where we take a jet boat ride, another cruise up the Rogue River, and then we end in Portland, where we actually go up the Columbia River Gorge on a cruise. So we actually do cruise the Pacific coast, and then we fly home from Portland. History of the Oregon Trail and the Buffalo Bills Cody Ranch, all the way out to the west, called our Riding with the Wild Bunch. That's a great history trip. You know, we've got so much history going on with the Yellowstone program. Maybe you've watched that. We've got 1923, the Dutton family, and even 1883. And a lot of that nostalgia is covered on our tours out west. Deadwood, Calamity Jane, Wyatt Earp, Wild Bill Hickok, all the way out to the west. Everybody, you know, our country is so fortunate that we've preserved different regions around the country, and we call them our national parks. And we're very blessed to have those. And we take advantage of those during the summertime, where we go out and see a lot of those tours. In the book is chock full of tours that go out to see Rapid City and the Badlands, Mount Rushmore, continuing all the way out to Yellowstone, Grand Tetons National Park, all the way down into Salt Lake City, where Bryce and Zion are easily accessed, the Grand Canyon. So look throughout the catalog. The one big trip, 20 days, that takes them all in on one tour. When you get back off of that one, you have had an adventure, I'll tell you. June 14th through July 3rd. Canyons of the West, the Black Hills, Craters of the Moon. Yes, we even go to Glacier, one of the most isolated national parks in the country. Our Lobsters and Lighthouses section. Look through there, and you know, we love to eat lobster, right? Well, all these trips has a great lobster bake included. Old Cape Cod, Booth Bay, even our New England trip, which goes into New Hampshire, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. All during a time of year where the leaves are changing, and it's just a beautiful sight. Come on down and sign up for one of our lobster trips. If you like cruising, you know, cruising is probably the most economical form of travel that we have these days. Once you pay that price, everything's included. All your meals, your destination, your place you're going to stay. We'll take you there and make it easy for you. We've picked out some great cruises in the catalog. Check out Alaska. This includes a 7-night cruise on the MS Nordum. This is a Holland America cruise ship that goes up to Skagway and Juneau and Ketchikan. And then it goes on a land trip that goes all the way to the center part of Alaska and Mount McKinley National Park. So our Alaska trip, another trip involving a cruise, is our Holland America Atlantic coastal trip. This goes up to Montreal. Okay, you with me? We fly up to Montreal. It's a great city, French-speaking portion of Canada. We go into Quebec City and we get on the cruise ship, and then we cruise the St. Lawrence Seaway all the way out the mouth to the Atlantic Ocean. And there Along the way, we visit Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, Cape Breton Island. We go to Nova Scotia and visit Halifax. And then we come back around the mouth of the Bay of Fundy into Booth Bay and Bar Harbor, and then back into Portland and Boston. And then the cruise actually goes all the way down the East Coast to Fort Lauderdale. So we fly out there, and then we bring you back from Fort Lauderdale. This is a September trip. It's a 12-day cruise. There again, all your meals are included, entertainment on the ship, a nice cabin for you, great service with great ports of call, very unique ports of call. Our Bermuda trip goes out of Baltimore. We'll fly you up to Baltimore, where you'll take a 5-night cruise over to Bermuda. And then next year in January, we'll have our big Bahamas reunion cruise out of Florida to the Bahamas. Remember, you'll need a passport for those, and you'll also need a passport for these trips, which includes a trip into Niagara Falls. We stay in the Grand Hotel in Michigan before going over to Niagara Falls. Beautiful Niagara Falls, a 185-foot wall of water that comes up down the Niagara River. There you'll actually take a cruise right up to the mouth of the falls, and you'll have to wear a raincoat because the mist is so thick you'd actually get rained on by the mist of the falls. You'll hear stories of daredevils, of the great Willinda who walked on a tightrope over the falls. You'll read about the girl that went over the falls in a barrel, and if you'd like, we can arrange for you to go over the falls in a barrel. Wouldn't that be fun? We'll have a nice dinner overlooking the falls on the Skylon Tower. Our Nova Scotia trip is a trip that'll fly you up to Boston, and then you'll take a ferry over to Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia has a lot of history. You know, the French were driven out of there at Grand Pre, and from there the ships took them around to Louisiana, and that's where we get the French influence from that adventure. The British, Halifax is got a lot of British flair. From there we go up to Cape Breton, which is a wild and woolly trip along the coast there, over into Prince Edward Island, where the lobster and the scallops are fantastic. And then we come back into America in Moncton. Our Maple Leaf train trip, we don't have this on the train trip because you need a passport. So we want to remind you have to have a passport on that trip, where we'll fly you up to Montreal. You'll visit Ottawa, the capital of Canada, Quebec City, Niagara Falls, all the while in the middle with a great train trip during the fall foliage time of year. Pura Vida, that's what they say in Costa Rica. This is love life is what they mean. And the Costa Ricans really love life. They're very proud of their country. And the country is really cool because there's such it's a small country and has such diversity inside with rainforest. We'll take you to this one rainforest where it's connected from mountain to mountain with these long bridges, suspended bridges. And even if you'd like, you can take a zip line across the mountain. Over a half a mile long zip line, we'll see beautiful animals, monkeys, and sloths, and lots of bird life, reptiles. You'll see the Pacific Ocean, where you can take a surfing lesson. You know, we have a guy in our charter department that is a fantastic surfer, Will. He's a great surfer, and we like to go down there and see the plaques on the wall about Will. We have an Italy trip that goes over to Rome, and you'll visit Rome and Florence and Venice. This is an all-inclusive program that includes your air and all of your tours and meals while you're over there in Italy. You've heard of the Northern Lights. You know, we always have things on our bucket list. This is on my bucket list. I'd like to go see the Northern Lights. This trip actually makes it pretty possible for you to see the Northern Lights. You'll spend 5 nights in Iceland, and each night that you're there, they provide a different mechanism for you to be able to see the lights. We'll go to Reykjavik. We'll see the great falls there and the glaciers and the hot springs. And each night you go out, because it gets so dark in the skies and it has the cool weather and you're up that close to the Arctic Circle, you do have a great chance to see the northern lights. So good luck with that, and we hope to see you on the Iceland trip. And you know, ending the slideshow here, we start coming into our trips that involve holiday ideas. So holiday trips, not only do you have the destination, but you have the decorations of the season with the decorations and the music and all the festivities that go along with the holiday season. Some different trips includes New York Broadway shows during New York, which is spectacular at Christmas time. We have a bus trip and a fly trip. We have our mystery Christmas trip, our Christmas trip to Branson. And then always Myrtle Beach is a fabulous time because you get to see the Carolina Opry, really the #1 Christmas show out there. And then spending 3 nights at the Opryland Hotel, which is completely decorated. We'll go to the Grand Ole Opry and see a show. We'll go on the General Jackson and see all the type of festivities in Nashville during Christmas. So that's it for the destinations. The website's a great place to sign up for a trip. It walks you through. First, it's just like any other payment portal where you have to register, put your name and address in there. You can sign up for your trip by knowing the trip number, and at that time you can put your credit card in there and make a payment. It's very easy. You're registered in our system. It emails you a receipt, and that's very easy if you're comfortable doing that. There's also the method that you can always call our staff. Our staff works Monday through Friday, regular business hours. They'll be glad to help you answer any questions, take payment over the phone. And then if you if you have a big trip and you want to talk face to face, you're welcome to come by one of our offices, and our personnel at the offices will help you find out more about the trip, learn about the payment system, and also about our general information, which is very detailed in the back of every catalog that we send out, and it's on every brochure that's online. So, it kind of goes over what to expect on a trip, what's included, cancellation penalties. We have a great option for travel insurance that you can purchase. And so those are your 3 methods: online, call up over the phone, or you can stop by one of our offices and we'll sign you up. Now at the end of our catalog here, we like to remind you that our tour leaders, we have group leaders. If you're a group leader and you have a group of people that you think you want to go travel with, then you are going to work very hard, and you know it, trying to talk 10 people into going to the same place on the same date to travel with you. Then we'll take care of you and we'll pay your way. For every 10 folks that you bring in the door, we'll give you a free trip. There's one of our buses right there. That's a 52 passenger, has a great leg room, and that's a beautiful group of people that have actually traveled together for about 12 days on that trip. And look how they all got smiles on their faces. So awesome. So right now, if you have any questions, look below. You have a comment button. There, if you'll just comment with any questions, then we have a staff online right now, and they'll actually be able to answer your questions today, right now, immediately following this show. So try that out. Let's get better and better at using this technology, and it helps us communicate our different trips, different times of year. So we hope to see you again. We thank you for tuning in today. And as the sun begins to set on this show, just be reminded that travel is a great way to, group travel is a great way to see the world. It's a safe way of seeing the world. And Kelly Tours has been at it since 1996. We've got a lot of experienced staff that'll look after you. And we look forward to serving you. So thank you. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you on the next Kelly Tours video.